Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Business This Week on ITV. I am Blessing Aichi. So finally, eNaira has been launched in Nigeria and is now operative. We'll be looking into that today on the show, as well as talk about the tussle at First Bank of Nigeria. When you get details of that, then you need to stay tuned so you can catch every discussion on the show today. First, let's bring you Business Roundup. Business Roundup, the pump price of automotive gas oil, also known as diesel, may rise further as the Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria says its landing cost has increased to 336 naira 45 kobo per litre. It was reported on October 7 that fuel marketers had increased the price of diesel to 320 naira per litre as the further rise in labor oil prices and naira depreciation pushed up the cost of importing fuel into the country. According to reports, it was observed on Thursday that the price of diesel had been increased to 325 naira to 330 naira per litre at several filling stations in Lagos, from 303 naira to 320 naira per litre 3 weeks ago. The price of diesel, which is not regulated by the government, has surged by over 46% so far this year, from an average price of 225 naira per litre in January. Diesel is mostly used by businesses, especially manufacturers, to power their generators amid a lack of reliable power supply from the national grid. Many vehicles transporting goods and people across the country also use diesel. The Executive Secretary and Chief Executive Officer, Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, Mr. Clement Isong, on Wednesday said, as of Tuesday, a member of the association was able to bring diesel into the country at a landing cost of 336 naira 45 kobo per litre, while the landing price was 338 naira 78 kobo per litre. Explaining that the landing cost of diesel is a function of dollar exchange rate more than anything else, he added that while diesel in Nigeria is deregulated, it is still the cheapest in the African region. The Central Bank of Nigeria has said its newly launched eNaira project is secure and dependable. The Director of Corporate Communications, Mr. Osita Nwansinobi, stated this while speaking at the ongoing CBN fair in Abakaliki on Thursday. According to the Apex Bank, the security and dependability of the eNaira stem from the fact that it uses cryptographic technologies encrypted with 2 factors for authentication. The CBN, however, observed that the new digital financial project might pose some challenges to Nigerians in the short term because it works with bank verification numbers. Nwansinobi noted that the eNaira project is a journey. It is expected that there are going to be minor challenges in the short term. He warned Nigerians to eschew unregulated financial schemes propagated by fake Ponzi operators, saying these had robbed them of their hard-earned money. According to him, there is no way a genuine investment can offer 10% monthly returns and 120% per annum. On the foreign scene, Facebook has changed its name to Meta. According to the company, Meta brings all the company's apps and technologies under one new company brand. The company added that Meta's focus was to bring the metaverse to life and help people connect, find communities, and grow businesses. In a statement, Facebook said the metaverse will feel like a hybrid of today's online social experiences, sometimes expanded into 3 dimensions or projected into the physical world. The Chief Executive Officer, Mark Zuckerberg, said he's proud of what they built so far and is excited about what comes next. Zuckerberg said the brand is so tightly linked to one product that it can't possibly represent everything that they do today, let alone in the future, adding that over time, he hopes that they are seen as a metaverse company. That story completes Business Roundup for this week. We'll take a short break. On the return, we'll be sitting down to discuss business. right, thank you for staying with us on Talking Business. I have with me Destiny Owobo, who is an economist and as well as statistician. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
It's always my pleasure to host you on the show.
Of course.
Because I know we're going to have a wonderful discussion today.
I hope so.
All right. So last week we talked about the rising price of cooking gas.
Yes.
And we spoke with, you weren't here, but we spoke with a petroleum marketer who explained the reasons behind the continuous rise in the price of cooking gas. But let's take a look at the business angle. For businesses that are dependent on cooking gas, how will it affect them?
Quite negatively. You know, gas is a major input in production of food and restaurants and others. So if the price of gas is high, it's going to affect the price of food in restaurants and businesses that depend on gas. Okay. And because of the importance of gas to, the use of gas in Nigeria is increasing. I mean, in the last 10 years, at least 30% of Nigerians are now getting used to the gas culture. Okay. And so quite naturally, it's going to, first of all, cause a negative growth stage to the gas industry, because a lot of people, we have this phobia against gas. Now people are beginning to accept it as a standard cooking device. Now that it's expensive, people are not looking at alternatives like charcoal, sawdust, and things like that. So it may be a setback for that industry, because it is projected to be one of the biggest growers of our economy in the coming years. So if people feel skeptical about gas prices going up, they may not be able to adopt it fully. Okay. But in the near term, it's going to affect the price of foods and goods and services in terms of, especially those dependent on gas. Like restaurants and yes, especially. And like we even said, apart from just gas, everything in the country, deflation is hitting everybody hard. So it's a lose-lose situation for everybody. And I don't think there's any group that will profit from it. Even the gas dealers, normally when prices are going up, gas dealers will be happy, you know, because they are making more money. Well, it's not so, because they are looking at total demand. The people have alternatives to gas, and so when the price of gas go up, there's a shock in that industry that takes the demand down, and then it affects their income in the long run. There are times when you believe that if prices go up, it will benefit you, but in this case, it's a lose-lose, both for the seller and the buyer. Because the volume that they would sell at the end of the day is not as much as they would when the price is not as high. Especially when they have made a lot of investments in that area. So it's not, you are making investment in a growing industry based on the fundamentals you have on paper, and then there are shocks like this that force demand to go down. So it means that you may be over-producing when the buyers are not interested in the gas. And so, in the long run, it's going to be a big blow to them. So, it is in the best interest of everybody for the price to remain stable and to even be going down. Well, would that not translate to reduction in price when the demand becomes lower than the supply at the end of the day, if more persons begin to boycott the use of gas? Yes, and we expect that to happen, because, like I said, Nigerians were used to using other means of cooking before. We just started adopting gas as a culture. So we just like, you run back to what you are used to. Nigerians are very used to using other means of gas. Gas is not like, it's not like petrol where we don't have alternatives. There are alternatives to gas. And so from the demand angle, we are not, it's not on our throat. It's not on the throat of the consumers. They can actually run away. It is in the best interest of the gas companies and the industry players to ensure that the price of gas is rising steadily and stable, not high, because that will not benefit anybody in the long run. Yes. Okay, I know we're supposed to talk about some other things today, but we're just trying to go over some things that we didn't talk about last week. Okay. Then also, it was the 1 year memorial of the NSAS protest was marked last week, 20th of October, precisely. Yes. And then as people were talking about the gains, the lessons of the NSAS, the insurance companies also opened their books and showed that they paid, for claims, they paid 9 billion naira claims that came from the NSAS protest, because properties were destroyed, lives were lost, people also lost cash and other things. Yes. And they said they actually had claims filed in for about 20 billion naira. Yes. But the ones investigated and paid already at 9 billion naira. Yes. And most of them are for companies and people in Lagos. Okay. And then the other parts of the nation were not actually really captured. What does that say about those other companies in the country not really benefiting from this insurance? Yes, insurance in Nigeria is still very much growing. The NSAS protest caused a damage of about 1.3 trillion naira. Okay. Total damage, federal government and everybody, in estimate. Now, if we say only 25 billion,
only about 20 billion,
about 20 billion has been there are filed claims for,
yes,
for that. It means the insurance industry has a gap. Like I told you, the insurance industry profits from calamity. They are managers of risk. Okay. They welcome such chaos. Chaos enables them to make money. And so it's a sign that the economy is developing. Okay. That we have 25 billion naira worth of claims on insurance companies shows that Nigerians are beginning to...
up to 25.
Yes.
You said over 20 billion.
Over 20 billion.
So we don't know exactly how over 20 billion
yes.
is.
So let's say 20 billion. It shows that 70% of that is in Lagos.
Yes.
It shows that most Nigerians, especially in the commercial capital or commercial areas, are beginning to accept insurance as a mitigating factor against losses and damage. Okay, but then, like I told you, nationally, the total cost was about 1.3 trillion. It means over 1.2 trillion is unaccounted for, no insurance cover for such things. Yes. It means that we have not adopted the insurance culture in the other parts of Nigeria. What that means is that the insurance industry should see it as an opportunity. This is good news to market their brand and market the fact that losses do not have to cripple a person or a business. You can cover for such things. Most Nigerians do not even know that they can cover for such lootings, damage to their property and things like that. So why the insurance company pays, they said they've made 9 billion payments
already, and
then we expect about 11 billion claims. Yes. We are investigating, which is quite normal. Yes. When such things happen, there are false claims. A lot of people raise alarm for nothing. There are false claims here and there. So there has to be an investigation process to ensure that these claims are legit and then the payments are made. If they have paid 9 billion out of 20 billion, it's good. It means that 50% of these claims have been settled. Yes. And so we expect reasonably that the other ones will be investigated and settled. But for the industry itself, it is the best time to be an insurance company. Because the reason is this: when people begin to hear that 9 billion was paid out of 25 billion, when they begin to anticipate such problems, that means we can begin to make insurance claims. Lagos is heading in that area now. We expect to see Port Harcourt do the same thing, Abuja the same thing, Edo State the same thing.
Kano, yes, the commercial hubs of the country.
Yes, because we must understand, when they were looting prisons and damaging property, these things started spreading from state to state. Yes. Even in Edo State here, we had our own fair share of these lootings and things like that. And many people innocently lost all their properties. Yes. Now that they know insurance is, most people don't think about such losses from insurance angle. We normally just expect that when it happens, you are gone. But now that we know the insurance...
Is it because of the time factor too? Because this is a year after and just half of the claims have been paid.
Yes. We don't expect insurance does not work like that. It works with investigation. There are standard procedures. Okay, so if they pay you the claims, whether a year after or maybe 6 months after, it doesn't really put you in because it's not automatic. Okay. The fact that you expect that your losses will not be borne totally by you, that you have an insurance cover for it, allows you to be able to do business without fear that in the future something may happen and take you out of business. So what that means for all businesses is that it is the best time to go for cover. To cover for such things. If you do a merchandising business that requires people to open, you can open your shop and just take everything out overnight. This is the best time to go for insurance. If you do any business that involves fire and you expect that fire can take it out, like what happened in Welu the other day, imagine the billions of property that was lost. It was insurance cover for all those products, for all those things. Even if you promise them that the insurance will pay in 2 years' time, most of them will be very happy. Okay, most of them they don't have insurance cover. So, like I said, it is a marketing environment. It's a great time to market insurance. Okay. It's also a great time for the people who you are marketing to seize the opportunity to begin to take cover in case things happen, because there's a high level of insecurity in this country, and things. It's not the best time to be a Nigerian because we have protests here, we have kidnappings here, we have murder here, we have the IPOB people in one area, the Yoruba people are looking for
so much unrest.
So much unrest. So this insecurity is boiling up, is cooking up something, and it is the best time to take insurance and protect yourself and your future in case of any eventuality. So insurance can come in to cover up such
let's look at a marketing strategy of insurance companies.
Yes.
Now, those in Lagos have been able to get a lot of companies and individuals on board.
Yes.
Is it because it's about the people, it's about the companies in Lagos?
Yes.
Or perhaps that also has to do with the marketing strategy? We have insurance companies in Benin, and some companies suffered loss. Some individuals suffered loss during the NSAS protest. What actually do you think is the issue, or is it a multifactorial thing?
Yeah, it's a couple of things that affects the insurance industry here. First of all, our culture. Okay, the biggest component against insurance in this part is culture. If you tell, for example, you tell somebody that cover for your shop in case there's a fire, you say God forbid.
Okay.
That's a cultural problem. You can't do anything about that. If you tell somebody do life insurance, you say I will not die, I shall not die. Isaiah chapter 4 verse 2 says I shall not die.
And they go religious.
We have a certain way of we call it defense mechanism.
Okay.
We have a way of denial, denying things that will happen to us. If you have that kind of mentality, it's difficult to sell insurance to people who think like that. But on the other side, we are aware that such things cause problems, and we see where it damages people. Okay. And so I think in our cultural evolution, we'll get to a point where we need to accept the realities the way they are. Okay. And understand that insurance is a vital part of the modern life. Okay, if somebody heard now, based on the news, that 9 billion naira was paid to people who fight for insurance, it sends a message that, wow, if you lost 1 million in your small business, I knew you could have saved it by simply contributing 200,000 to insurance over a period of 4 years, and then you just lost 1 million and there was no cover. It should do what we call corrective. Okay. You know, there's something we call the facts of life can correct any delusions that comes from our culture. For example, it's easy to say you shall not die. Okay. But if you have ever suffered the death of a breadwinner of a family, and how his death crippled the family, I have a family, and I know I had an uncle that was very rich in the 90s, early 90s. When he died, the family went into poverty. I know them, I understand the only reason those people went to poverty was because this breadwinner was out. Okay. Now, if there was life insurance and things like that, then the quality of life of these people fall back on. Because of that, I personally have insurance for my family. I learned from him. I stayed with him when I was about 11, 12 years old, and I saw how a big man could go down and his family go down too. So because of that, I have insurance for my personal life. I have insurance for my old age. I have such things because it's not because I'm rich, but just because I'm aware that these things could cause problems. Okay. Yes.
All right. So let's move away from insurance and as well the cooking gas issue. There's a carryovers from last Igbo. Yes. We had to touch on this other area. So now coming back into discussion for today proper, e-Naira being launched. Now this has been anticipated over time. Yeah. It was first said to be launched on October 1st, but eventually October 25th became the new October 1st. Yes. I'm just joking, by the way. So now we have the e-Naira app being launched, but there are some issues about it. Now how do you think the e-Naira will fare eventually in Nigeria? Yeah,
like I would say, we are still in the learning stage of all the cryptocurrency thing. So we can't tell how it will fare for now, but what we can say is that it's a right step in the right direction. Okay. It's never too late, too early to join a revolution. Okay. Okay. You lose when you do not join. Okay. As I speak to you, I came to the studio about 3 days ago, and I told them just 10 years ago, the value of the crypto industry in the world was not up to 100 million, but today it is $2.4 trillion. The total GDP of the planet is $76 trillion. Now, if the total GDP of the entire world is $76 trillion, and an industry that just came up 9-10 years ago is worth 2.3 trillion, at the rate at which it is going, we predict that in the next 10 years, the world will go crypto. Okay. So it is the right time for the CBN to take charge of this thing instead of allowing to come and be to be a follower in such things is always bad. Okay. We must first of all understand, why did the CBN go into crypto in the first place? I was
coming to that. Why did we have to launch e-Naira?
It is very simple. The reason was to be in control. Like I told you, the basis for cryptocurrency and the blockchain technology was financial republicanism or anarchy. There are people in this world who detest government and centralization of power. Okay. And the whole monetary system in the world is highly centralized in central banks, in world banks and things like that. There are people who are financial anarchists. Now they say, why should a person or an institution sit down somewhere and determine the value of the money that I work hard for? Why should they sit down there and print the notes? And in fact, when I suffer losses to my currency, they lose nothing and I lose everything. We must understand that the CBN has the power to print money. And so government can never be broke in the actual sense of the word broke. Okay. I can go broke because I can do business and do poorly and I lose all my money. But the central bank can never go broke by design it can print currency and protect itself.
Okay.
So some people do not just like leaving that kind of control in the hands of an institution. So these Republicans created an alternative payment system that is independent of the center, that is highly decentralized, like a democracy of money. One, the advantage of that system is that, one, because nobody is totally in control of it, it is purely democratic, and so it is fair. That's number one. Number two, it is transparent. Three, it's untraceable because nobody's interested in tracing anything because the system is designed by Republicans in the first place. And four, is based on blockchain technology. Now, the normal record system that we are used to is what we call, in accounting, we call it double entry system. But the blockchain technology uses the triple entry system. That means if I do a transaction on the blockchain, every participant in the blockchain can see the transaction. Okay. It is more transparent, it is efficient, and it's more advanced than the current system. Now, this federal government noticed that Nigerians, because of the fall of the value of the naira, have been taking advantage of the crypto world. Okay. For example, there have been billions of dollars movement from the naira account to the crypto accounts because they want to hedge against the fall of the naira. Okay, they want to protect themselves from the fall of the naira. For example, if I put 50,000 naira in my current bank account, it will yield nothing more than 1,000 naira interest in a year.
You're even scared that in the next 1 year, that may not actually be 50,000 naira in terms of value.
They may even remove some deductions and some things, and the total value will focus on inflation. But if I put that 50,000 naira in a crypto account that is rising, I can get 300, 400% within a very short period of time. Although that market is very volatile, the price goes up and down. People feel more secure when they believe that their money over the long term will go higher than go lower. So because of that, people were moving money from their regular accounts to their crypto accounts. And government felt that is terrible for monetary stability. And so the CBN had to come in and step in. It's like when you don't like your children going to...
I'm sorry, I have to cut you at this point. So we'll go on a break. A very quick one. We'll return to continue the discussion. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us on Talking Business. Now, before the break, we were talking about the e-naira usage in Nigeria. I still have my guest in the studio, Destin Owobu, an economist and a statistician.
Okay.
All right. So we're talking about the technology the e-naira uses.
Yes. So the major advantage of the CBN going into this industry is simply to have what we call control. Okay. It's control. It's a matter of control. I just give an example. I remember when I was very little, we used to go to, there was a family in my neighborhood that were very rich, and then we used to go to their house to watch TV. It was everybody goes there to watch TV, but my dad, being a very proud guy, anytime we come there, we say, "What is your problem? You stay in your house and do things like that." And then we always go there. For some reason, we always went there. We enjoyed the movies there. Okay. And then when you go there, you are going to hear some inconveniences. Pride issues will be affected. You know, those people will begin to think that we are poor and something like that. Then one day we came home and my father bought a very big color television. I said, "Stay here now." You know, stay here now. Now, the advantage of that is that, one, he's able to monitor what we do at home. Two, it helps our pride to say that we have our color television. And three, we become the new kid in the block. The same thing. The federal government going into cryptocurrency is simply making a statement. Instead of running after other cryptocurrencies, why don't you adopt the e-naira? Number one. Number two, Nigeria is giant of Africa. We are not giant for nothing. We should lead in everything.
So we have the market.
It's more of a pride thing. We are the first in this area. We know we have our own cryptocurrency. People should think about us in terms of things like that. But beyond the cosmetic thing, it does not have any relationship with the value of the naira. The e-naira value and the x-naira value is still the same thing. What we eventually translate into quality value of our currency is the productivity of our economy. Are we producing more goods and services? Are we exporting more goods and services? Is Nigeria becoming richer by virtue of more industrialization and things like that? Those things, you don't do it E, you do it off E. Okay? So while I commend the federal government in taking the bull by the horn, because most people tend to see cryptocurrency from the angle of just e-naira. There are other applications under it. For example, we have what we call smart contracts. A smart contract is an agreement between some people within an ecosystem to operate by certain rules and use the e-naira to fund it. For example, we can build smart contracts inside the e-naira project and use it to raise money and build railways and do things like that. Federal government, private people, both of us can sit down, build a smart contract in and allow people to fund it through the e-naira system. And then we use it to build anything we want to build. You can use multiple funding system. You can do decentralized finance within the decentralized nature of the e-naira system. So it has more technological applications.
Okay.
Number two, it also has effect on how African countries relate with Nigeria.
Okay.
Like we said, Nigeria is opening up its market to the entire African economy. And Nigeria is 20% of the entire GDP of Africa.
Okay.
Now, if Nigeria starts the e-revolution, the e-naira revolution, and we're able to make our e-naira cross-border transactions friendly,
okay,
that means that a lot of people will begin to demand the e-naira just to do business.
Instead of going through the troubles of exchanging your money,
you know,
so
just
have a single currency.
You wire your money
online.
through to online, and it will make the naira valuable because of the number of people using it. Because, like I said on Monday, we have what called the network effects model that says that the value of a thing increases when the number of people who rely on it increases.
Okay.
For example, I use a cell phone to show that your cell phone is completely useless if you are the only person that has a cell phone in Benin.
Okay.
Okay? You may have bought it for 80,000 naira, but it is useless if only you has a phone. Now, if 2 people have a phone, then the value is proportional to 2 people.
Okay.
If 4 people have the same cell phone, proportional to 4 people. So if we have 1 million people that have cell phones, then your value of your phone increases.
Because it now has more
Because it now
users.
has more users. So if we apply the same principle to this e-naira thing, as the number of people who use the e-naira increase internally and externally out of this country, the rough value of the naira itself increases by virtue of the number of people who use it.
Okay.
So because we don't need a fiscal space, that's number one. Number two, the benefit is the cost of printing the e-naira is near zero.
Okay.
In the long run.
Because it's virtual.
Because it's virtual.
Okay.
We may have initial startup cost to design the project, but the marginal cost of producing the e-naira is near zero.
Okay.
But the cost of printing the paper money or the other alternative sources of spending is high, and estimated it's about 300 billion naira every year. So the federal government is saving 300 billion in printing paper money if people begin to use e-money, the e-naira. Okay. So such benefits like that.
Okay, let's look at the usage. Yes. For the few days that it's been in operation, there's been some hiccups here and there.
Yes.
Most of it, of course, it runs on the internet, so most of it comes from the use. And it was noticed that the app was not on Google Play Store for a while, and then it resurfaced. Now, challenges with the usage, we all know that internet, we don't really enjoy good quality internet in Nigeria.
Of course.
Now, how will that affect the use of the e-naira?
Okay.
For instance, I need to make a transaction, and then I'm having some issues, some technical issues.
Yeah.
And this is something we want to sell to other countries to use,
I guess,
who perhaps have better quality internet than we do.
I get.
And the CBN, though it is assured that the e-naira is dependable, now for other fake apps that surfaced as well at the time that the e-naira was launched, it's not claiming responsibility for all of those.
Of course.
Do you think that will make people wary of using the e-naira app?
Yes, of course, but in the part of the design of the system, such things were part of the design. It's a pilot. It's currently on a pilot. In the pilot, the purpose of a pilot is to check possible problems and issues that may result from before you make a system mainstream. I think the CBN is taking record of the problems, what people are saying, download problems, application problems, and things like that. They are studying such things. It's part of the system. The people who designed the e-naira system, they are still there working. They are looking at complaints here and there, and how electricity, bandwidth technology, and all these things will affect it. We must understand like a baby that is learning how to walk. You don't just start the e-naira system. Something it's a world. Even in developed countries, as I speak to you right now, there's still white paper going all around the world. People are still understudying the system, whether to use a general blockchain system or enterprise blockchain system. There are so many systems within this ecosystem. Nobody, there is no expert in this area worldwide. So starting is okay, but we should learn as we go on. I expect that the central bank is learning from the hiccups here and there, and then maybe in the next 3 to 4 years we get it right, and then we begin to understand these issues properly. For now, we are starting. We have taken, whether you like it or not, people are beginning to take Nigeria seriously because we are leading. We are in the news for one good thing. We're in the news for one good thing. Other countries have been trying to do this thing. Nigeria came out fast. It doesn't mean we are the best. It simply means that we are not afraid of the future. If we are not afraid of the future, it's optimism. It helps people to think, okay, Nigerian government is not always lagging in everything. This is the first time we are trying to lead in Africa. It's a good thing. We should study the problems, learn from them, and improve on the system. I believe it is part of developing any system that is sustainable. So we cannot just complain. In terms of the power, how power will affect it, how bandwidth technology will affect it. The beauty of it is that if people depend so much on the in era, then it will force investors to invest in those areas that ensure that it's efficient. It is a win-win situation for everybody in the long run. Okay? Because CBN will only own the in era project, but they will not own the technological system that supports it. That is an opportunity for people in that area to invest in different areas to ensure that everything is efficient.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, before we get done with this, we already know that there's e-banking.
Yes.
There's e-banking. So, well, how will the e-naira affect the use of other banking apps? You know, using your normal, having your money in your bank account traditionally or conventionally. Now, how will it affect this? Yeah.
Normally, in the first 6 months, it will look as if the central bank is competing with commercial banks in the use of these apps. But the central bank has said they are only in control now because they are just starting the process. Because we don't want a central bank that is competing with commercial banks. But when the central bank understands this system and sees that it is not efficient, they can pull out and allow commercial banks to control everything. When that happens, then more is better than less. It just means we have an alternative system apart from the regular banking system. So if I know that if I transfer money through my Access Bank account to another, for instance, and I'm going to be charged 6 naira, but if I transfer it through the e-naira wallet, I'm going to be charged 2 naira. At least I should be able to have
more people time who move to.
Yes, I can. Alternatives allow people to benefit. I don't think it will be a major problem to these commercial institutions.
And it decongest the banking system.
Yes, it makes, like, it creates what's called financial inclusion. As I speak to you right now, if you, over 30 million Nigerians have mobile phones but don't have access to formal bank accounts. Now, with a simple feature phone, a basic Nokia phone, you can connect to the e-wallet, I mean the e-naira wallet. So there are some people who do not have normal traditional bank accounts, but they can still operate the e-naira. It's just simply more and more is better. What we need to check is abuse of the system. But as an infrastructure, it is an addition, a good addition to our banking infrastructure.
I guess that by abuse you mean fraudulent practices that may come up, which I think the CBN also has that in mind and perhaps is trying to resolve with security agencies.
Security issues,
Okay, now let's move to the First Bank of Nigeria Holding Company and First Bank of Nigeria issue. Let's talk about corporate governance. Now, for about a week, there's been this issue. First of all, we saw on social media, basically, and even on some national dailies, that the popular business mogul Femi Otedola is now the majority shareholder of First Bank Holdings. And then, like a drama, after about 2 days or thereabouts, there was a letter saying that the chairman, Tunde Odukale, was now the highest shareholder, a single shareholder of the bank. And then there was a story from the First Bank Holding Company at first that it had not received a notification about that. But it wrote to the Nigerian Exchange that it had received a notification about Femi Otedola being a majority shareholder. And then it didn't say anything about the other man, Tunde Odukale, who was said to have 5.36% stake in the company. So that had led speculation on for quite a while. And everybody was waiting that as First Bank Holding, which is the parent company of First Bank of Nigeria, wrote the Securities Exchange of the Nigeria Exchange, that it would do the same to clarify issues. Now, talking about corporate governance, what was the ideal thing to do here? To leave out speculation and just let people know this is who this person is, this is the leader of this, and just clarify issues. From a corporate governance perspective, there's something we call information asymmetry. Now, information asymmetry means that for a company should not have information that is critical to the stakeholders and keep it from the stakeholders. So there should be transparency and accountability at all levels. Now, when a company as important as First Bank, with $7 trillion worth of assets and millions of shareholders, is doing anything, corporate governance rule says that it should be open to give the best and correct information to all stakeholders. Investors, we must understand that this is a network of people
contracts with the company. We have the debenture holders, we have the shareholders, we have the loan creditors, we have ordinary shareholders, and many of them. Many people are connected to this institution. So the information they give out to the public should be true, should present a true and fair view of the happenings in the company. So to that extent, this black and white kind of information is not doing that. So it's against basic corporate governance expectations. Okay, but we must also look at the issue. We may be tempted to see it as maybe a war within the company, but the fact does not suggest that there is a war between the company. We must understand why it is possible for two different information to appear and give the impression that there's some tussle. We must also clear the air. They are not owning majority stake in the company. To own majority stake in a company, you have to have 51% of that company. First Bank says no shareholder has more than 5%. As our last year's, no shareholder. Everybody is basically between 3 to 4%, 3 to 4%. Now, if somebody has 5%, it doesn't really give him so much power. It doesn't give him more power than the person that has 4%, actually. Because all of them, actually, they have many, many 4%, 3%, 2%. There are millions of shareholders. So, Femi Otedola, for instance, having 5.07 stake does not in any way change the matrix of politics within the government, the corporate governance, because no one has 51 stake. He cannot change the name of the company. He only has some votes more than others. So we must get the issue stakes. What we have here is we want to know something. Which of them have the highest majority, the highest stake in the company, for record-keeping purposes, for transparency purposes. So we should get out of the political bandwagon. Why? There's no fights anywhere. What we should be more interested in, we want to know. People who invest in the company need to know and have the belief that who is the majority shareholder. I think the reason why it appears different is that most shareholders invest through many investment vehicles. I can have 4 companies, and the 4 companies can invest in a company. 4 companies under my name. And then because they come from 4 different companies, by the time you want to estimate my personal share in the business, you may not know that I own the other company. By the time you take
like, okay, this is your direct share.
This is my direct share, and this is my proxy share. So I can own a company that has shares in a company I have a majority shares too. So by the time we try to reconcile these, we may not get the total figures unless I want to make a decision. Maybe I want to buy more shares and I want to state my position in the company. Then I'll say, okay, reconcile all my shares together. Okay. That's why we have registrars of a company. The purpose of the registrar is to keep records, to update the records of ownership proportion and who owns who and who owns what. Okay. What we are noticing here is that they've not done their due diligence before they started showing out who is the top and who is not the top.
Who has not done due diligence here?
The company registrars and the people who in charge of relating this information to the public have not done due diligence in completely ironing out who, as we speak now, is the top shareholder. Okay, they've not done that. And secondly, the Security and Exchange Commission and the Central Bank needs to step in to force them to do that.
Okay, now talking about the Security and Exchange Commission, although the Nigerian Exchange Limited has written to the FBN Holdings querying certain things, querying the place of Tunde Odukali having 5.36% stake. Now, it has written to the bank. Now, but did the bank have to wait to be prompted to release that information?
Like I said, the bank is a police. But it's not a police for itself, actually. It's a police mainly. The bank, you must look at it from the bank's perspective sometimes. The purpose of government is to regulate these entities to behave socially responsibly. Okay. Sometimes the bank is not always thinking about what is socially responsible. They think about what is pragmatic, what is practical within the banking system. And so they are not interested in trying to break a law or do something. I told you, because of some issues, because nobody has an interest. For example, if somebody is trying to buy First Bank, and then the person demands concrete information on the share ownership of this company, then because of that, because they have a 3 months or 2 months notice, you see people come together, join hands together and say, let us present a standard document for the investor purpose. But a business is a going concern. First Bank is a going concern. As at any point in time, they are joining many records from different places, relating with different organizations to keep their records. They may not have gotten to that point yet where they get one unifying figure. And so what we need to do in this circumstance simply shows that our agencies are working and that we need to get the facts. So now that they've written to them, they have time to clarify the issues. In the next 1 month or 2 months, we'll be able to tell for sure who is the largest share, who owns the largest shareholding in these institutions for record purposes. For now, it's just part of the issues that are coming up to show that we still have our checks and balances that work within the system to force these institutions to play by certain rules. Yes.
Now, let's talk about perception. Now, for the first story released that, first it was a story released that Femi Otedola has taken over First Bank of Nigeria before we saw this other story. Now, for the average persons on the street, what's the implication on the person and even those who want to begin to buy shares? Because it seemed like a lot of persons did understand what that meant, that, oh, this person has taken over, oh, this is the new person who's taken over First Bank of Nigeria. What does that mean?
Yes. The word takeover is a misnomer. Nobody's taking anything over. To the average man on the street, what it means is that Otedola has bought First Bank. That's not what it means at all. Very far from that. What it means is that Otedola has increased his stake in First Bank to the point that it is among one of the top shareholders. That is the only thing it means. There's no takeover there. It doesn't mean he controls the bank. It doesn't mean he controls all the policies of the bank. It simply means the only thing we can take away from the story is that he has increased his net shareholdings in the bank to a point that he is a significant shareholder, because by virtue of the fact that he owns at least 5% of that bank, he's a significant shareholder. We leave it like that, significant shareholder. With this other guy, that guy is also a significant shareholder. There are many other significant shareholders, except that he and this other guy are the top significant shareholders. It doesn't mean they own the bank. Both of them simply own 10%. So what happens to the other 90%? They are owned by millions of other people. If you have shares if you have shares in First Bank, you are part of the owners. So when it comes to voting rights, that's where they begin to come in taking decisions. Their votes count more than the vote of a person who has 2 shares. That's all. It doesn't mean they are taking over the bank. The expression takeover is a misnomer in that context.
All right, now let's talk about precedence in the banking sector. Now, looking at the way this all happened and how the Nigerian Exchange Limited had to step in by writing to the parent company of First Bank asking that they clarify issues. Now, does that mean that if they had not written, I know you've explained that it takes a lot of time to put all of this information together and then release it, but for the sake of those who also have stake in the bank, those who want to know about happenings for the purpose of corporate governance, now what is this saying to the administration of other banks and perhaps holding companies?
It may send a negative fever around the company if, like I told you, when we have information asymmetry, when there's no correct information, people can form ideas of what is playing and what's not playing.
People can begin to
speculate. And such speculation is always dangerous. The problem is this. You have heard the expression, when 2 elephants are fighting, the grass suffers. Okay, so let's apply it to this context. If the shareholders of this bank perceive that Otedola and this other Tunde Odukoya are fighting, they suspect that it's going to choke the company.
They suspect crisis.
Crisis. And if such crisis happens, it may reduce the share value of the company. That is how it affects the average man. Okay? That is why we don't need unnecessary bogus stories. We just need to focus on what is happening there. So in that context, we need to present the true information so that there will be no reason to think that people are fighting and trying to take over these draconian tactics. That is not what is at play. If people believe that that's what's at play, it will affect the buying and selling of First Bank shares and spike it, make it more volatile within the short period. And then if that happens, some people will suffer, while some people will benefit. And we don't want that. We want stability within the system. So for corporate governance rules, the idea is to ensure stability within the system and not create unnecessary tension within the system and force shareholders to either dash their shares or get out of the business. What they want to see is stability to ensure that nothing is happening. That's the idea. So that the information that is put out to the public is true and fair and represents the best interest of all the stakeholders, not the interest of some who may want to profit from such political infighting within a corporate governance environment.
Now, on a final note, now, why do you think the CBN was out of this whole issue. He didn't bother with it. Is it that it's not necessary? It doesn't necessitate the response or even the response of the CBN?
Yeah, the CBN has already done something. They sacked the board before, before now.
Okay.
And then they reinstated some board members back. The CBN has done its work. The CBN understands what is happening.
Okay.
But they are trying to be cautious.
Okay.
We must understand that it's a private affair.
Okay.
There's no crime committed here. It's not a question of a complaint from customers or something like that. It's just a question of who owns majority stake, who has more stake in the company. It's not a regulatory issue per se.
Okay.
So the aspect that it affects is the reporting aspect.
That's why CBN would have come
Yes,
in.
the reporting aspect. So the FROCN is there to handle such issues. The NGX is there to handle such issues. The Security and Exchange Commission is there to handle such issues. So they cannot be micromanaging. Let those people go and deal with these issues and bring the result out. CBN will only come in if they feel that people are going to be threatened, and then there's a lot of problem that will come from there. So I think it's just the CBN can step into every issue that a company has. Yes.
Sometimes you just have to let issues resolve themselves.
Let them resolve themselves. Give them time to sort it out. Yes.
Okay. All right, we're already out of time, and this is as much as we can take on the show today. Thank you very much, Destiny Obu, for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure. Again.
Thank you.
Now, for those who have been speculating, for those who have been asking what's happening with First Bank and First Bank Holdings, I hope you get it clear now. And for those who perhaps have gotten unnecessarily tense about the issue, when it has to do with money, people want to be sure what's happening, have my money here, have my money there. So let me be sure of what's happening if I need to move.
Of course.
Move fast.
Yes.
All right, that's been the show today. Do enjoy your weekend. I am Blessing AJ.